Hey guys, Adam the New Hampshire Rail fan here, finally returning with another Engines of Conway Scenic Railroad episode. I've had zero time to work on the video between the last installment and now, but that's mostly due to not having enough silence to record the audio, trying to find information, but regardless, I apologize for the long wait, and I hope this one was worth the wait. So with that, I thank you all for the patience, and I hope you enjoy this new installment of Engines of Conway Scenic Railroad featuring Millie. The 1950s was a time where railroads were beginning to cut costs. Areas with low ridership were beginning to sprout all over networks across the country, most commonly the Northeast. To some railroads in the Northeast, including big names like the New Haven Railroad, the Boston and Maine, and the Maine Central, commuter services were still profitable, where most of their other passenger services were becoming less and less frequently used. The railroad companies didn't see a reason to send an entire passenger train out to some location in the middle of nowhere that doesn't get more than 5 passengers round trip, and they made a good point. Why waste all that extra money on diesel fuel and a crew on a line that doesn't get more than 5 people per station when we could be using all of that somewhere else? Why don't we just go and rip up the whole line? But then you may be saying, don't those lines also bring in money? And doesn't it also cost money to rip up those lines? Well, you would be very much correct. The Bud Company of Philadelphia found the railroad solution. That solution being in the form of a self-propelled passenger car that could be lashed up with multiple other units to form its own train. Between 1949 and 1963, Bud built 398 of these cars. These cars were named RDCs, aka Bud cars or Budliners. However, in this video, we're going to be learning specifically about the New Haven Railroad's RDC-1s. Even more specifically, number 23. Between 1949 and 1953, the New Haven Railroad had 29 of these RDCs on their roster, which were all numbered 20 through 48. Our particular RDC, number 23, was delivered in 1952. This happens to be the only known photograph of her wearing the orange cab stripes. The photo was taken sometime around the late 50s or the early 60s. When the New Haven Railroad became a part of Penn Central in 1968, 23 was renumbered to 68 and given what I call the grouper stripe paint scheme. When Penn Central filed for bankruptcy in 1970, they started selling off assets. In 1973, 68 was one of them. She was sold to Amtrak and renumbered to 18. For a while, 18 still wore the grouper stripe paint scheme, as well as her New Haven Railroad lettering above the passenger area windows. This was eventually corrected, and the paint on either end of the RDC was reverted over to Amtrak colors. In 1986, seemingly unwanted, 18 was sold once again to a new owner, this time Metro North.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
No, Andy! No, Andy, no!
When 18 arrived on Metro North property, she was repainted once again, but this time into dark blue with orange and white stripes in either cab. She also lost the New Haven Railroad lettering, which used to be above the passenger windows. If you do the math, she wore the New Haven Railroad lettering 18 years after the New Haven Railroad became a part of Penn Central, which means for 34 total years she wore New Haven Railroad lettering. Guess what happened in 1991, only after 5 years of working for Metro North? She was sold once again to the New York, Susquehanna, and Western Railroad.
Surprise, surprise.
18 was renumbered to M-5 and repainted into a maroon color. She operated on the shuttle between Syracuse University and the Carousel Mall. While being owned by the NYSW, the shuttle was operated by a group called On Track. Mostly volunteers ran the line. Many people found that On Track was not very profitable. Some blamed the fact that On Track didn't offer enough service during rush hour. Evidently, in 2008, they stopped all service to the mall and to the university and closed their doors. Our story does not end here, though. M5 was sold to the Conway Scenic Railroad that same year, where as per tradition, she was renumbered back to her original road number of 23. She received a fresh coat of paint and Conway Scenic Railroad stencils. It was decided that she would be named Millie in honor of the grandmother of the founder of the railroad, Dwight Smith. Millie is typically used Monday through Friday during the month of May, according to the railroad's website. That concludes this installment of Engines of Conway Scenic Railroad. Once again, I apologize about the wait for this episode. I'll try and get the next one out after the poll results come out for the winner of the next episode. But with that, this is the New Hampshire Rail Fan signing off with a friendly reminder to keep the rail fanning hobby alive. See you guys in the next one.
Somehow